Welcome to the Build Your Reiki Business podcast. I'm Christian of Standing Stones Healing, founder of the Reiki Business Collective and creator of the Build Your Reiki Business program, sending blessings and best wishes to your Reiki business. Greetings, welcome, and thanks so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Build Your Reiki Business podcast. It's Christian of Standing Stones Healing. Yes, indeed, as always, I am honored and grateful to have you here. So thank you so very much. In this week's episode, we're talking about BOI filing, Beneficial Ownership Information Report. Holy cow, what the heck is that? Don't worry, I will explain it. But if you are tuning in and saying, oh no, a boring businessy kind of episode, I'm out, please. If you are a US-based business owner, you must listen to this episode of the podcast. And if you're not a US-based Reiki business listener, then I'm sorry, this episode is not for you. But indeed, please do feel free to tune into another episode of the podcast. And don't worry, I'll be back next week with another episode for everyone all over the world. So what the heck is the Beneficial Ownership Information Report, the BOIR? So this report is for anyone who is a US-based Reiki business. I'll define exactly what that means for this report in a moment. But first, this is a federal government report. So this is a federal government requirement. It's new. This is a new federal filing as of this year. So what happened was back in December of 2023, the Corporate Transparency Act was passed. And this act was passed to, yes, indeed, help with corporate transparency, primarily with financial crimes and the committing of financial crimes. Now, the chances are pretty low that in your Reiki business you are committing financial crimes, but the U.S. government wants to take steps to make sure that things like money laundering are not happening in our Reiki businesses. And so that means that the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, also called FinCEN, it's a division of the government, is in charge of collecting information from each company about the ownership interests of that company. Don't worry, I'll break this down and explain it to you. But what this means is that if you have substantial ownership of a company, being 25% or more ownership of a company, you need to be included as a, quote, beneficial owner. So you are someone who is benefiting from the company. You have an invested stake in the company. You are receiving compensation from the company. You are benefiting in your ownership of the company. And so probably if you, like the vast majority of Reiki business owners, are a sole proprietor, you're going it alone, you are the owner of the business, and you are receiving benefit as the owner of that business that is 25% or more, then yes, indeed, you need to be part of this report and you need to have it filed on behalf of your Reiki business and of yourself. Now, exactly what is a business when it comes to who has to file? So if you have filed for an LLC, or a DBA, a doing business as, a fictitious name, an alias. Those are different names for a DBA depending upon the state. But if you have filed legal paperwork with your state's Secretary of State to form a business, then you are required to complete this form. Now, if you are thinking, what, this is crazy, I haven't heard about this. Yes, FinCEN is supposed to be getting the word out about this required report, but they have not been doing the best job. This is why this is an episode of the podcast, so that I can share this information with you. So, if you have filed for your Reiki business through your state, now, of course, in the United States, filing for a business happens on the state level. I talk all about it in my DBA LLC OMG article that's part of the free Reiki Biz Kit. Of course, you can get that at standingstoneshealing.com/Reiki Biz Kit. I explain filing for a business on the state level in that free article. But if you've gone through that process, if you have filed an LLC, if you have filed a DBA or whatever your state calls it, if you have gone through the process of filing a business and forming a business with your state, then you are required to complete this FinCEN BOI report. Now, if that sounds scary, I want you to take a deep breath, because it's not quite as scary as it sounds. The good news is that the filing process is very simple. I'm going to walk you through it so that you know what to expect and how it works. So the good news is the filing is very easy. The good news is the filing is also free. And so there's no charge for this new requirement of filing. Now, this filing, if you've already heard about it, you may have heard about it from your accountant. Some accountants are informing their clients, others are not, because this is not an accounting function. And so you may hear about it from your accountant. If you have one, let's be real, you might not have an accountant, and that's okay too. But even if you have an accountant, and even if you've heard about this report from your accountant still may not do it for you because it's not an accounting function. So that means that even though you might be informed about it by your accountant, you're still going to have to do it yourself. Again, don't worry, I'll walk you through it. I personally heard about it from my registered agent. I have a registered agent, also known as a crop, and they represent my business's address. So they represent the legal address of my business. I'll talk more about that in a minute as I walk you through the process of filing. That's how I heard about this requirement. But unfortunately, FinCEN is leveling some very steep fines if you don't complete the report, while at the same time not doing a good job of getting the word out about this report. So FinCEN will start leveling fines when the report is not completed, to the tune of $500 per day. Now, I find that completely ridiculous, but you could be looking potentially at, and I say potentially because who knows how strictly they'll enforce that if you are past the deadline, but you could be looking at a fine of $500 per day for every day that it's late. Now, more good news, this is not due until January 1st of 2025. If you are an existing Reiki business, if your Reiki business was filed before January 1st of 2024, you have until January 1st, 2025 to file the BOIR. And if your Reiki business was filed in 2024, you have 90 days to file your report. And going forward from 2025 onward, you will have 30 days to file your report. Now, if you are a Reiki business that is operating as a sole proprietorship, you are not an LLC, you have not submitted a DBA with your state, then you don't have to file this report. You only have to file this report if your Reiki business is on the books for your state. There are additional requirements for the BOIR and additional exceptions. If you filed your Reiki business prior to January 1st of 2024, but your Reiki business is inactive, you're not required to file this report. FinCEN is defining inactive as having less than $1,000 in payments or receipts. So you've done less than $1,000 in transactions, whether you have paid or received funds through your Reiki business. So if you have filed legal paperwork with your state to form your business, then you're required to do it. But if you're operating your Reiki business, on the weekends, just offering with your friends, you haven't formed an LLC, you haven't formed a DBA or any of that other legal stuff. Again, if you have no idea what any of those things mean, get the Reiki Biz Kit and read that DBA, LLC, OMG article. But you do not have to do that, only if you have filed with your state. So, of course, I have an LLC. Standing Stones Healing Company is an LLC. And so I, maybe like you, am required to complete this report. It's very important that we do. So I'm going to walk you through this process so that you know what to expect and what you need. First, you're going to need some documentation to complete this report. The first thing that you're going to need is the name of your business. And so the legal name of your business, again, that you filed with your state. Like I mentioned, mine is Standing Stones Healing Company. That's the official name of my business. You are going to need your business's EIN, so your employer identification number. And you would have needed that in order to file with your state anyway. So you should already have that. You would have needed it for your business bank account. So you should already have that. And so that shouldn't be a surprise. And I'm sure you can find that in your records, your EIN. I'm sure, yes, of course, when you do your taxes, you use that number as well. And you will also need your personal address, your personal identification. So because this is the beneficial ownership information report, what it ultimately is reporting to the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network is the person, the information of the person who is the beneficial owner or people. In the case of our Reiki businesses, typically there is a beneficial owner, just one of us. But in some businesses, in many businesses, partnerships, there are beneficial owners. And so what this report is really for is providing the information of the beneficial owners of the business. And so this report is really providing your personal information as a beneficial owner of your Reiki business. So you'll also need your personal information, including personal identification information in the form of your driver's license or state-issued ID or passport. So some kind of identification that you will also need to upload a picture of. So get that ready, your EIN your business's address, which might be different from your personal address, your identification, and a photograph of that identification, all to upload into this report. So first go to fincen.gov/BOI. That link is down below, so you can just click to go there straight away. And on that website, you're going to see a place on the right where you will click on File. Down below, file a report using the BOI e-filing system. So then you'll go to Beneficial Ownership Information Reporting, click Get Started, and file your report. I'm going to recommend filing it online. You can file a PDF. It's extra steps. There's no reason to. It's a piece of cake to just do it all online. So click Prepare and Submit BOIR. Now, I will say that the really nice thing about this report, it's a piece of cake and simple, and you can review the whole report before you submit it. So you can see what all of the questions are. You can click through and see what they're all asking for before you have to input anything. So that's really nice about it. But with the filing information, they're going to ask, is this an initial filing? If this is your first time, yes, it is. Are you correcting a prior report? If you mess up on your report the first time, it's no big deal. Don't sweat and don't fret. You can correct it. And then anytime your information changes, so your home address or your business's address changes, you'll want to come in and update the prior report. That's all. Piece of cake in that way. Now, you'll have the option to receive a FinCEN ID. You don't have to get this. It's not required. You can get one if you want to. It can make future filings faster if you need to file in the future. But if you don't get one, it's no big deal. No problem. Now, make sure that you are putting in your company's legal name, what you submitted when you submitted your documentation to your state. You're going to need your EIN, so include that. If your business does not have an EIN, yes, this is possible. You can use your SSN, your social security number. That's okay too. So you can submit your SSN. You'll need to let them know which state you formed your business in. You'll need to let them know your business's address. Now, this might be different from your personal address. If you have a business office where you do business, you can use that. This is the address that you would have submitted to your state when you were forming your business. Now, if you formed your Reiki business before January 1st of 2024, you would check number 16, existing reporting company. That means you don't have to fill out the company applicant information. But if you are brand new, if your company is brand new and you are filling this out, you would fill out Part 2 company applicant information. So a brand new company would need to fill this out. But if you formed your company before January 1st, just check that box and you don't have to fill this this information out. But this is just your personal information. So you are the applicant probably for your company. So if you, like the majority of Reiki business owners, are a single member, sole proprietor kind of Reiki business, then member, by the way, just means owner, then you are going to fill out the company applicant information. So with your legal name, your date of birth, your personal address, and you will complete all of this with your identifying documentation, which again, you can use your state-issued driver's license or ID or a passport. You would then upload that document. Interestingly enough, when you upload the document, the file name can't have any spaces. So don't put any spaces in the file name or it won't work and you'll have to upload it again as a different name. I don't know, but there you go. On the next page of this form is where you put in the names of the beneficial owners. You will need to put in your information again. All the same information that you just put in when you put in the company applicant's information. Since you're the beneficial owner, you're going to put your information in again and put that all in again. This time, absolutely, you have to use your residential address. So whereas before you could have used your company address, on this beneficial owner information, you are using your personal information. So if you haven't yet put in your own personal address, upload again your identifying documentation and then submit. Now, when you submit, you're going to get a page that confirms your submission and has a big button to click on to download that confirmation. Definitely download that for your records to prove that you have submitted your BOI report. You'll also get an email confirmation of that as well, but we all know how email goes. Things don't always go through, so definitely download that transcript and then you're done. And you are done, meaning unlike other reports that we might have to file in our Reiki business, it's something that we only have to do once unless our information changes. So we do it once and then we do it again if our information changes. So I'm so grateful that you listened to this episode because this is very important. If you have Reiki business owner friends or any kind of business owner friends, please spread the word because they may not have heard of this very important mandatory report. We have to do this. So please make sure US-based businesses to do it. And as always, of course, I'm sending lots of blessings and best wishes to your Reiki business. Thanks for tuning in to the Build Your Reiki Business podcast. Please like, share, subscribe, and send to a friend. Learn more about the Build Your Reiki Business program at standingstoneshealing.com/build. Sending blessings and best wishes to your Reiki business.